Good afternoon, everybody. It's 4:30 in North Lincolnshire, and it's a weird day. It's been raining, not raining, sunny, cloudy, sunny again, and more rain. So I've been in the garage doing the front indicators, part 2 of my exercise in changing my stock indicators, which I'm not keen on. You'll know that if you watch my last video, for these replica Lucas ones, which I'll from now on refer to as Lucas and save a word. 5-inch stems on those, and as I said in my previous video, I'm really pleased with them. I think they're really good, actually. They appear to be definitely chrome rather than chrome finish, and the stems I think are brass, chrome plated brass. The nut, as I mentioned before, is galvanized, so I got rid of those and put stainless ones on, which is 7/16 UNF nuts, stainless ones, and washers to give something for the nut to butt up against. And you'll see that they come with one wire, that with a bullet terminal on it. The Royal Enfield stock wiring has got two wires in the cable to each indicator, and I discovered yesterday that the indicators simply do not work if you don't actually connect that wire. Earthing it on the frame and all that just doesn't seem to work. I don't know why. So they take a little bit of mucking about with. It's just a case really of cannibalizing the stock indicators and soldering onto the actual light bulb socket an earth wire. So there's a bit of mucking about, but not unpleasant. That means having to take apart the Royal Enfield indicators, and it's quite handy because the wiring that's on the stock indicators, if you take the indicator apart, it's got 2 spade terminals, so you just pull them off and then you can pull the wire through the indicator stem, the rubber one, and use those on the Lucas indicators. So basically you snip off that black wire with the bullet terminal on about 1 inch below the light bulb socket. In order to get at it all, what I did was to jack the bike up with a hydraulic jack and wedge it in case the jack collapsed, and basically took off the headlamp, unbolted the headlamp, and then undid the clamps for the fork stanchions and just slid them down enough to slide off the cast alloy brackets. If you ever do this, I would say be careful, because the stanchions can twist and the brackets can twist on the stanchions and they can hit the fuel tank. I mean, it didn't happen with me today because I was prepared for it for once. But if you ever do that, to lower your fork stanchions, be really careful, because they can spin and whack on the front of your tank. So I removed the brackets, and I'd already taken the indicators off, and here is a shot of the stock wiring harness. So you've got the white plug on the end of one lead, and then the other one is black, but basically the same block terminal, 2-pin, and that is the original cable from the stock indicators. This next shot just shows the spade terminals, which once you pull the lens off and get the light bulb out and everything on the stock indicator, these just pull off, as you can see in that picture. And then all I did was to snip those off, and in order to solder everything on, you can't get a block connector down the indicator stem, obviously, so it's all in reverse. You've got to push it through from the bike side, as it were, right the way through all the nuts, washers, the Lucas body, and in order to do that, well, I tried to get the 2 wires up the stem and found it slightly challenging, to use the euphemism. Pushing them, it just wouldn't go. I tried a variety of different things, but then it suddenly hit me. What I did, that red thing with the brass end on it is actually an oil can. So I squirted a bit of oil down the tube, and the wires went straight through and popped out the other end. much rejoicing. And I then got out my trusty Dremel soldering iron, which is an amazing piece of kit. In fact, soldering iron is really a bit of a misnomer because it's got little tools with it and chisels and scrapers. It's a really versatile tool that runs on lighter gas, and the soldering tip seems to last forever, unlike the cheaper ones. So having got that ready, it was then a case of taking the Lucas indicator and undoing the lens and a couple of screws that hold that leggy looking thing there. That's the bulb socket, and you can see the single wire that goes through the stem. So that needs to be undone, and that black wire, as I said before, I cut it about an inch because what I didn't want was, I didn't want the soldering and the shrink tubing, which I've used and I'll show you in a minute. I didn't want that trying to pull that down the tube because it wouldn't fit. It was a close thing with just two wires. So I cut it about an inch and obviously twisted the wires together first and then soldered them, not too much, and then put some shrink tube on top. Now that body of the light socket there is galvanized, and I found that solder, it's very difficult to get it to stick to that. So what I did was to get some wet and dry sandpaper and just take some of it off. So this picture shows the wire is now joined together, and you can see it's very close to the bulb socket, and that will just nestle nicely in the Lucas shell and not try and pull it down the stem, because it simply will not go. This next shot shows the body of the light holder thing, light bulb holder, and I've sanded it off a bit, the galvanizing, and it stuck fine. It may not be the prettiest of solders, but it's rock solid, and that's the main thing. I decided to quit while I was ahead, because sometimes the solder just seems to skate off galvanizing. So there it is, there's the earth wire. So at this stage I've now got the original stock cable running through the indicator stem, popping out the other end, right the way through all the nuts, bolts, washers, the headlamp shell, all done in reverse, as it were. Now there is a shot of the bracket itself, and as you can see, I can't. There's no there isn't. It's too thick, basically. I'll show you in the next picture why. The stock indicators are 10mm. I think these are 8. I've got a stainless nut there and a stainless washer to give it some grip and something to butt up against, and also to cover the hole. But it simply will not go in. You can't tighten a nut on it. So there's my little setup there. So that's a 7/16 UNF threaded tube, and the nut obviously is the same. And I got some 10mm washers, 10mm hole in them, big ones. And the reason that I couldn't get the nut on the other side of that, somebody mentioned it in the comments actually, is that. So you'll notice there it's got that little cut out bit. That's to stop the indicators spinning, one assumes, the stock ones. But it really is thick there. Now, because of my sort of deciding not to use those skeleton brackets, I thought I'm going to try and just have a go at this. So it may not be the prettiest, but it's not visible, and I did paint it afterwards. You can't see it on the inside of it. So I used a variety of tools because I didn't have a massive drill to get rid of that. So as you can see, there is a slight bit of attrition, you might say, but once I'd painted it and it's facing inwards, you can't see it. You just can't, unless you're OCD and looking for things like that, and I am actually, but even I can't see it. So I can now get the nut on and really tighten it up properly. That's a stainless nut on the inside, and then afterwards I painted it, just sprayed it with black paint. So that's them in the brackets. There's another shot. It took some getting off, actually, that big shoulder. If I'd had the proper tool, I know, I shouldn't start a job without proper tools. I know somebody's going to say that, but I use Dremels and all sorts. I even used a woodworking chisel at one point. But there you go. That's the sort of thing that goes on here. I just want to crack on with it and get it done. So there it is, and then it's just a question of plugging them in. So I've got some shots here of the indicators on the bike, just so that people can see what they're like. Now I know, obviously, people, there's a whole thousands of different kinds of indicators, lights, fuel tanks, seats. This is the wonderful thing about these bikes, and I've said it before, and forgive me if I'm sounding like a geriatric cracked record, but it is a really good thing about these bikes. You can really do what you want with them, can't you? You cannot do that with a race bike covered in fairings. You just can't. So whilst these may not be your taste, or they might be, they're mine. So, and I'm sure that yours look good on your bike too. Sermon over. So as you can see there, I'm quite pleased with that nut and the washer, because it does cover it covers that slot, the anti-rotation slot from the stock indicators. It's all covered up. That's the view from the back. Now, to my eye, that suits my bike a lot more than the stock ones. And it's very reminiscent of all the Triumph Bonnevilles I had. Maybe this is just a nostalgic trip down memory lane, watching my Triumph Bonneville Lucas indicators swivel around with the vibration. I don't think these will do it. I've put Loctite on all the nuts and everything, and it doesn't vibrate anyway, I don't think. It's not. It's so civilised compared to a Triumph Bonneville or a Norton Commando. But they were on British bikes, and to me, they suit my bike. They suit what I want, so that's why they're there. Now, above that washer and the nut, there appears to be some aluminium. It isn't. It actually isn't aluminium, because I sprayed them. I think it's just some kind of reflection or something, but I did actually spray the brackets. There's an aerial view. Traditional looking, So I'm going to finish this video with a sort of before and after shots, just so that, I'd be interested to know what people think. If you think it's rubbish, well, be diplomatic, but you know what I mean. So here it is. Here is a little before and after. So there's my rear end. They are the Royal Enfield panniers and pannier rails, which I got from India, an Indian seller, and they were very cheap, and they turned up with no import duty. So there's my droopy indicator on the left. There's the before shot. Now what do you reckon? You see, to me, I would like to fit a Lucas 679 rear lens, rear light unit, because that's another thing that was on the bikes of my youth. I don't know. I mean, give me your opinions. Do you think that rear light looks incongruous? I think it does, myself, although apparently it was fitted to some British bikes, the later ones. I want a 679, but it's quite a nightmare trying to mount it on the mudguard, because on the Royal Enfield that cast alloy assembly at the back holds the mudguard on as well, and the number plate and the indicators, so it's going to be a bit tricky, that one. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. If anybody's got any suggestions about fitting a Lucas 679 light unit onto that cast alloy bracket at the back of the bike, I would be overwhelmed with gratitude. So there's the before shot of the front, a bit of a droop, slightly. It's not that bad. It's the iPad camera makes it look a bit worse than it is, really. There's the after. I mean, to me, I think that's a lot nicer. I'm happy. So I would welcome comments. I'd welcome any suggestions. You know, about this Lucas light. If you Google it or go onto eBay and type Lucas 679, you'll see what I mean. It was on loads of bikes when I was when I were a lad, like, you know. So there it is, and this final picture is of my entire bike. There you have it. I'm planning at some point of doing a summary of everything I've done to it. I'm sure other people have done a lot more, but yeah, I'm going to sort of itemise or summarise all the mods I've done. But look at those exhaust pipes, and look at those cans. So remember, if you want to buy some AEW cans like those, stainless, they're fantastic. Look at my previous video, find that eBay seller, put Slick 5 in the message and you get it for £237.50. And if you put Slick 5, it's coded language for something that means that you most probably won't be paying import duty on it, and I'm not going to say any more about that. But if you check my previous video, you'll see it. And I'm not getting anything out of it. There's no backhand, there's no nothing, because that ain't my style. But you'll get them for £237.50, which is a bargain, I think, because they're lovely. So there you have it. It's done. I've got another mod on the way. I'm just waiting for the bits. They have been sent. They're not out of stock. So if anybody wants to guess, how about that then? Let's finish this video with a little guessing game. What mod am I going to do next? What do you think I'm going to do? Suggestions? A guess? To be a prize. I'll give a prize for the person that gets it. A prize to be determined. How's that? I mean that. I'll send a prize out to somebody. Yeah? If you can guess what I'm going to do, and you only get one guess each. If you can guess what I am going to do next, a change to the bike, bits as it were, you know. If you get it right, I will send you a gift. How's that? All right then, on that note, I will depart and shut my face and take care. I say that every time because we've got to remind ourselves when we're out on our bikes, I think. So take care on your bikes, and I look forward to hearing those guesses. Bye for now.